Hi, in this project you're going to create a WebQuest. So what's a WebQuest? Well, a WebQuest is a model developed by Bernie Dodge and Tom March in 1995 at San Diego State University. It's essentially a way to create inquiry-based lessons that integrate internet resources. And even more importantly, they focus on higher order thinking. So there are a bunch of readings and links provided in Moodle for you to learn more about what a WebQuest is and how to create one. But essentially, this is the example that you will see. And you can see that it has a central question and then it has some basic structure to guide learners through this process. So spend some time learning more about what a WebQuest is and the benefits of WebQuest before you start diving into your own project. But you'll essentially create a WebQuest on a topic of your choice. You need to select a topic and a task that will allow learners to engage in higher order thinking, and spend some time looking at this example as well as looking at your instructor's rubric so you can find out exactly what is expected of you for this project. Have some fun. In the next 20 or so minutes, I'm going to show you how to create basically the basic structure of a WebQuest like this example here. Let's get going. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Dreamweaver and I'm going to go File, and I'm going to actually use the new Fluid Grid layout. And so for this, I'm going to make sure HTML5 is selected. I'm going to hit Create. Within my 502 folder, in my styles folder, I'm going to name this WebQuest CSS. Hit Save. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my first page. So I'm going to do a File, Save As. And so within my 502 folder, I'm actually going to create a folder called WebQuest because I'm going to have so many different pages. So those subdirectories can help manage more growing, bigger, larger, complex sites. I'm going to save it, start. So it prompts me saying that to use this fluid grid layout, it needs to copy the boilerplate and this JavaScript, and that's fine. So I hit copy. It says before I'm going to make sure, and it tells me to use the insert panel. I'm going to go over here to my insert panel, and you can see it here, and it gets kind of lost. So I'm going to make some room here. And so it's basically saying that use this to add my outs. But I can actually pull this out, pop it in, and now I have it across the top. And so that's going to allow me to work easier with that. And so I can see right here is where I'm going to use this. So if I take a look at the code real quick, this is all within my grid container. So that's basically my container. And then I have a layout div 1. And so that works for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in header. And so there's my header. And if we go back to the example, there's basically a header, there's a main body area, there's a left navigation. So with my cursor under the end of my header div, I'm basically going to repeat these steps and create a div for my nav, a div for my content, and then a div for my footer. And then I'm going to do it once more for the footer. So I can still go up here, change it more. So I'm going to actually go ahead and delete this header text, and I'm going to go to Insert Image, and I already have my image from my banner image in there. Go into my images folder and I find it. Give some alternative text, and that looks good. Now, because the size of the image, I want the rest of my header to actually be the same color. I'm going to open my CSS panel with this div layout, and you'll notice that in this case it's actually still called div layout 1, so I'm going to actually change that to header. So click on header. I'm going to click on the plus, and I'm going to make sure it is saved actually into WebQuest. I'm going to hit OK. And click on background, click my color picker, make it black, and hit OK. So with my nav, I'm going to, instead of 100% width, I'm going to put 25% width and see what that looks like. And for now, just so I can see it and easily pay attention to where it is, I'm going to just put a background color that I'll later change. But I like to do this sometimes just so it stands out, so I'll do a yellow. And you'll notice that I wrote nav in two places, so that was a mistake. Hopefully you caught me doing that earlier. So in this case, I'm going to float that one right. And the width I'm going to put as, we'll say 75. Okay, that's still a little off, so that one I did is 25. So we'll actually go ahead and make this 73. Alright, the footer looks fine exactly the way it is. And on the content, I'm going to actually delete this clear, and so it's on the same line. So to create the navigation like this, I'm going to go to the CSS library and I'm going to use something called the wireframe menu. So I'm going to click on vertical CSS menus. I'm going to go to page 3, and I'm going to do A to Z, then go to page 3, and there is the wireframe menu. So you can see the basics of what that looks like. And so it gives you the CSS and the HTML. So I'm going to start with the HTML. In place of this, I'm going to put it in there, and that looks right. And I can right away go and change these links if I want. For now, I'm going to add the CSS. So I copy the CSS, and I'm going to put it in my WebQuest CSS folder. So I'm going to jump in here and make sure I get rid of this style part. And this is where I'm going to insert a comment. Okay, so you can see that it's the width, and there's a few things off for sure. But for now, I'm just going to start creating the basic navigation by changing this to start, introduction, because in this case I've planned out and I know what I want my pages to be called. I'm going to hop down here into the source code, and I'm just going to add another. Let's take a look at that a little more. So the teacher page, I'm just going to add and make it a link. And for all of these, if I know what I want to name them, for instance, so start, I know that that's going to be start.html. Introduction, I'm going to call intro.html, task.html, process.html, evaluation.html, conclusion.html, teacher.html. Okay, so now I'm going to jump back in here and take a look at the navigation, see if I have a width. I do have a width, so I'm going to delete this and see what it does. Okay, it looks pretty good. It works right within my previously created div. So now I'm going to copy in my text that I have. Okay, so I just copied in the basic text that I'm going to use. I'm going to now insert my image. I can adjust the size of that, but for now that's fine. So then the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the rest of the page. So the body, I'm going to click plus sign, and you can see that it actually didn't get it right. So I could start over, or I can go back and just, I know I want to do the body tag, so I'm just going to go up there and find it. Make sure it's WebQuest CSS. I'm going to jump straight to background color, and I know what I want my background color to be. And we go down to box, it's good to zero out your body. I'm going to go to type. I'm going to choose my basic font for my page, choose my basic color, and I could start with 100% as my base. I'm going to hit apply and hit OK. So now I'm going to click on container, because that I actually want, and you can see it over here. So I'm going to actually click on add property. Background color I'm going to make white. So now my div, my nav, instead of this yellow that I had before, I'm going to actually make it a gray. But you can see that it's going to be overridden by, So I'm going to jump down here because that's when we popped in here. This wireframe, it already had this background color. We're now going to preview this. And it's good when you're previewing it to watch it and to adjust the width so you can see how for mobile, tablet, and desktop it's going to change. And so I can see that it's basically, I need to look at the width for my nav, because what I did was I changed it in one place but not in all the places that need to be changed. So if I go to the top, you'll notice that as I scroll down, and right now I'm just looking for nav, so I have this one at for 25%, this one is still at 100. So that's the thing when you're working with this fluid grid system, be aware that you have to usually change things like this in 3 places. And so it's easy to forget about that. So the same way, I know that my content, I changed it to 73, but then it's likely not 73 at my others. Yep. So let's save all and take a look. Alright, so the content's still a little off, and so we could take a look at that. What it looks like is the float is what wasn't carried over. So we're going to go down here, and the float right, I'm going to get rid of the clear while I do this. Okay, it's looking better, and you can see it coming together. Now what I could do, honestly, is if I wanted to, I can move this navigation to the top when it gets to this mode, right? Because it works for a tablet and it works for the desktop view for it to be this way. And you can see that my image needs to be adjusted as well. But right now what I'm going to do is, and this is, you really want to spend all this time up front before you start doing a save as and creating the other pages, because you want to make sure it's right. And so the mobile layout, I'm going to actually, for my nav and my content, I'm going to change. So for my nav, I'm going to actually make the width 100%, content 100%, and I'm going to float left for content, and we'll add the clear. And let's see what this looks like. And keep in mind that I could, go with multi-screen preview if I wanted to. I can do different things here, and so it's important to be aware that you have that option. Right, so that might be helpful for you. The other thing to be aware when you're working the fluid grid system is down here I can click on, this is what it's going to look like with my desktop, this is what it's looking like with my tablet, and this is what my mobile is looking like. So let's preview this. Okay, so that's what I want from my mobile. This is going to be my tablet, and this is going to be full right. And so you can see that I might have to take a look at my clears. I'm having some funky stuff going on, and this image needs to be fixed for sure. I'm going to also play a little with my style and get rid of this border. This is that layout div 1 that I renamed as header that I want to make sure is gone throughout. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to get rid of my padding on my left and right of my grid container. So you can see what that did was I got rid of that white space right below. So the footer needs to be fixed. This could be tweaked a little more. Some styles here, and this needs to be popped up. So to clear that up in the medium, I added a clear right. So I'm going to just add that. I think I got it all. That's the process of previewing it to make sure that you do. Okay, so that's looking better. Image is still a little funky, but that's fine for now. You could definitely see some padding would be helpful, but not a big deal at this point. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to click on my H1. I'm going to be less specific. So for my H1, I know I want to use 066, and I know the font size I want to be 1.4 M. And hit OK. And then I've down here these H2s. I'm going to hit on H2. It didn't do what I wanted, but I can always change that and just pick the tag I want to adjust. Hit OK. I know the color, 369. 1.1 is my font size. Alright, so this image, I'm going to actually add a style. So I'm going to be less specific, but I'm going to do it where it just is within this content div. I'm going to go down to box, and I'm going to float right. The last thing I'm going to do when I'm thinking about it is within this content div, I'm going to add some padding right. And that could be something too with the padding. Rather than give a pix, it could be that I want to simply do 3%. Right? And so you can see what that looks like in it. What it did was it jumped this down a little more. So what I'd have to do is change this to 70, and you can see what it just did. So the image could definitely use some padding at the top, but let's see what it looks like as it gets closer, and then down here. And so what we could do is definitely change the image CSS. It's in the mobile version. Rather than floating right, it could be floating left. But for the most part, it's looking pretty good. So let's just, when I'm thinking about this, we'll call this WebQuest and start. And let's take a look at the CSS a little more. And so the image, you'll notice that we did a float right. Just something really minor. And what we'll do here is we'll move that. So we're going to put this right within here. So what we want to do basically is we want to say that when it's in the full version, this is what we want, right? You gotta be careful with where you place this for this to work. And I still want it to float right for that one. But for this one, I want it to actually float left. So some last minute things for this would be to, if you look at this example, we definitely want to add some copyright, add that color. And you can see that they add a rollover that is blue, so there's a little bit of there where this has a different color. But for now, let's jump to full footer. This is where I could also play with my font size. Add the copyright information. And you'll see that when I add the padding, you see how it popped this out? That's the type of thing to be careful of. So, but if I click in here, if I go back to the footer, I can see it down here. And so what I did is I gave a padding across the whole thing. So I could just delete that and then add padding top of 10 pixels. And I can see what that looks like. Still a little on the left. You could see some benefit of adding a little more padding. So that would be where I could change this to 98. And this, the padding, left could be 10 pixels and see what that looks like. So it's not exactly quite there. So you notice, especially because the color, that you want it to be exactly. So let's add 100 and see how it pops out. Let's preview this and see what it looks like. So for the most part, it looks pretty good. I mean, like I said, you could definitely play with getting this hover correct color, and that's something to play with. Also, adding some links or styles for your links. And even looking at Robin Williams, I could definitely decrease the white space between these. So that's one last thing I will do. So I'll click on my H2. And so there's two parts to that usually. It's first adding the zero margin, and then for your paragraph, keep it there, adding a top margin. And sometimes you don't want it to be exactly 0, maybe 3, and you can see how it just brought it a little closer. So this gives you a basic idea of how I would create such a site as the WebQuest example. I then would actually go through and remember what I named all these, and I would start by saving them all. So I'm going to save one called intro. One called task. One called process. Evaluation. Conclusion. And teacher. So one thing when you do these save as, you have to remember to go back and change your title. So this was teacher page. And then the last thing you want to be careful of is then go through and add the pertinent content, right, that each page needs to have. So whatever that is, go through and do that. And then after you've added all the content and you're done, you want to make sure that you spell check. Make sure that you check your code, make sure it's validated. Okay? And then you want to upload it to EdTech 2 in your server space, and be sure to add it to your 502 page. So have fun with this. We're excited to see the WebQuest that you all create. Thanks.